Hey, guess what I got? Completely free because of what I did. I don't claim to be a real estate guru. I do not. I do, however, have a 100% track record on purchases of land. I don't like houses and structures. I don't inspect them. I like raw land, and I have a sixth sense about raw land, and I've learned some secrets over the decades. The first money I ever made, like some serious money, was back in 1994, I believe. I got some really cheap land that was subdivided, and I sold it, and the money was just absolutely excellent. I was like, wow, this is great. I've gone from there. But I did get 10 acres of free land recently by helping out a rich fellow, buddy of mine. And the land that he got was $234 an acre. It's somewhere in the far east of Kentucky. Don't ask me where it's at because I'm not going to tell you. He's still negotiating on some other pieces out there. But I got it because of some things that I know, and did some looking, a lot of looking, and I'm pretty good at reading a GPS. And here's some the secrets on purchasing raw land. Let's say you're going to buy some land and you're going to plop a cabin on it or build a house on it. Is that when you find out about the land, and this is so incredibly important, it's almost number one. After you get done looking at the land and inspecting it, there's still a lot of stuff you have to do when you inspect the land. Talk to all the neighbors. Be really nice to them. Offer them a free soda out of the cooler of your car. Offer to give them 10 or 20 bucks. Like, how many take up your time? I'm thinking about getting this piece here. Sometimes that's a risk. Sometimes, quite often, they don't know that it's for sale. And you don't want to clue people in, that the land next to them is for sale. I was looking at it, I don't think about it, but I'd give you 10 or 20 bucks if you could just, do you know anything about, just quiz the neighbors about it. They will always know because neighbors are nosy. The flaws about it, the great things about it. Always quiz your neighbors about the land. Here's the boring part. Go down, and it's completely free because, your tax dollars, your property tax dollars help pay for this. And so they have to. It's their job. Be very helpful to you because you pay property taxes. Go down to the PVA office, and also too, it'll be downstairs, or it's usually the same floor, the delinquent tax office. Okay, look to see, and of course this is part of a title search. You should of course pay for a title search on the raw land, but before getting to that, because once you get to the title search, you've already made a frigging offer on it. If the title search comes back clear, you're going to pay a hefty fine in most states because you've already made an offer. You've committed to buy it. So you're already past the finish line there. You want to know this stuff before the title search because the title search is done most of the time, 99% of the time, after you've made the offer and things start to close, and the deed is being drawn up by the lawyers. So go to the delinquent tax office, hit the PVA office, okay? Find out. Look up the deeds. There's also the deed room. The deed room and the delinquent tax office are side by side. They'll print you out the prior deed and the prior deed. From that depends how many owners there were, and look at any changes in the deed, specific nomenclature of the lay of the land. A lot of times the stuff will say, go into a rock on the hill over here, and you go to a tree marked X that's next to a stinky raccoon. It's like, well, this was a survey done like 100 years ago. That stuff isn't even there anymore, and if it is, you couldn't see it because it's overgrown. So that's not very helpful. So you have to figure out how to read the deed and find out from the PVA office and find out too from the neighbors. Like, yeah, property ends right over there. There's actually a spike driven in the ground right over there. It's like, oh, fascinating. I found out some amazing information by talking to neighbors that surround the land. I mean, absolutely invaluable stuff. Need to learn how to use a GPS. I've got several GPS units. Need to know how to use it. Mark key points like, well, you think this is mine, yeah? You mark the latitude and longitude, and you find out, make reference to the PVA office, and you find out relative to the deed and the survey. A lot of times raw land, if you're getting it cheap, doesn't have a professional survey. A lot of people are really, really scared about that, and they shouldn't be, because there are ways around that. I mean, it depends on how rough the land is. If it's very vertical, you're gonna have to pay someone. Depends on how big the land is too. You know, $1,000 to $10,000 for a professional survey that is defensible against any attacks at the PVA office and the deed room. Someone says, "Well, he is surveyed 10 inches on my land. That's not really his." You know, it has to be defensible. That's the word that they'll use. But there are ways around this, and I found this one out too, because the land that my buddy got, and I'm getting 10 free acres out of it, it turns out, because it's coal country, that even though there's not a professional survey, it's a professional survey, but it's not a survey that can be attached to the deed. But the survey is extremely accurate because it was done for the coal seam that runs underneath it, and some of the coal mines that used to be under part of it. And so what happens is that the mineral survey, while not a land survey that's attachable to the deed, you still need to have a professional surface survey. But there's still a mineral survey that accurately mapped out the boundaries of the parameters of the land. So you actually have a professional survey. You know exactly where the boundaries of your land are. Yeah, but it's not attachable to the deed. So that gives you more than enough information to know whether the heck to buy it or not. So very, very, very important. I have to make one note on the end of this, that I'm buying land. Of course, it's a desert scrub or Colorado like that. You're just buying land. You know, there's usually not a lot of trees on it. But here in Kentucky, anyway, I'm about half buying land and half buying fuel and lumber. You know, you got land. I mean, you got lumber for log homes. You have the lumber itself, which, depending on the type of trees and tree species, can be sold off, as I have on my farm. You know, like my cabin land, I bought, you know, my farm behind my cabin. So I have all that wood, millions and millions of pounds of wood. Literally thousands of tons of wood that I have. Literally thousands of tons. Endless heating for the home, heat food, wood to build furniture, to sell to people. And a lot of people say, well, you're cutting trees down. It's horrible. And I hate the notion of cutting trees down, but when selective timbering is done, and most people have never seen selective timbering, when they come in and they get some of the large suckers that people want, you literally can go out there and not tell that anything's been done to the land. It's like, it looks the same. It's like, yeah, I took that big tree there, that big tree there. You're still looking at thousands of trees. Like, you know, it doesn't look any different. That's what selective timbering is. People think, they have this delusion in their head, like the Brazilian rainforest, where like the bulldozer come in and wham! It's going to lay it all flat. It's like, boom! Oh my God, the land looks like hell. That's not what is done in the United States 9 times out of 10. And it's not what's done, because they don't want it to, time is money. They do not want to cut down those spindly little sapling garbage. Why would they do that? They don't do that. When they selectively timber your land, like, I want that big oak tree there, that big walnut tree. The other trees, you know, like this size and smaller, which are still significant trees, they're not interested in them. You know, your land still looks like a heavily forested piece of land. They just took 20, 30, 40, depends on the land and the species, the big suckers, the stuff that's worth money. It's like, wow, I got, you know, there's some money, and my land doesn't look any worse for the wear. There's still tons and tons of trees and tons of firewood. They just took some of the, you know, some of the big suckers. I'm not for cutting trees down at all, but I've seen selectively forested land, and it doesn't look bad, or, you know, like it's had the heck beat out of it. You're like, oh my God, look at it, this land was so beautiful, now it's horrible. It's not like that at all. I think that's what everybody thinks when you're cutting down trees, like you're just mowing it all down like the Brazilian rainforest. Totally not true. Not in America, anyway. not in the United States. There's all sorts of tips and tricks on buying land. The one big secret that I found, and it's worked out brilliantly for me twice, but especially the one time, my most beautiful piece of land, is that on the surface, when people drive up to it, it would have been sold 100 times over if people weren't so stupid and lazy. When you pull up to it, it's like, oh my God, look at this grown-up mess. You can't even, you have to whip out a machete and you still wouldn't be able to get into it. But me being the smart one and knowing how to use a Jeep is like, well, this is the parameters of my farmland. There's another access point up here. Yeah. And I went up there and I had easy access to the land. And the land is gorgeous, barn, a pond, beautiful pond. Beautiful, majestic, big old trees. Beautiful. Everybody else saw it from the place where the real estate agent took a picture of it. It's like, here it is, starts right here, it's at the end of this road. Little short road. And everybody's like, well, the hell with this. Some of the best land that you could get is just so happy with, that you'd be so happy with like I am, is that it's like the most beautiful person in the world covered in mud. It's just you get a scratch right beneath the surface. And that was true of the land I bought in southern Kentucky. From that road approach, it's just heinously ugly. No one would buy it. It's just like scrub and thistles. It's like you can't even get in there. It's like, I'm not going to do this. You just get like 1,000 cuts if you were to try to approach it from that little angle there. But the other angle, easy access. The land is gorgeous. It's like a fantasy forest. It's beautiful. I love it. Easily, I bought that years ago. It was like the best purchase I ever bought. Love it, love it. I'll easily be able to, whenever, if ever, sell it, triple my money on it. So far, I have a 100% hit rate on raw land purchases. I can't afford homes. I really can't afford land either. I mean, that's why I look for deals, like stuff that nobody sees how beautiful it really is. But you got to ask a lot of questions. Got to hit the PVA office, delinquent tax room, the deed room. I know that's boring. Talk to the neighbors. Find out magical, if you will, attributes of land that other people don't, they just don't look into. Like a creek, it's got a cave on it, pond, an old barn on it. There's a list of like 30 or 40 primary things to look at when it comes to buying raw land. Like I said, I don't claim to be a real estate guru. I don't deal in structures or houses or anything like that. I don't even care about that stuff other than having a roof over my head. But these things do work 100%. I've proven that they work. So think about that if you're considering on buying some raw land. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.